I'm Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here with Andie MacDowell, who co-stars in Maid as Paula, who is the bipolar mother of a woman escaping domestic violence and struggling with poverty. And you've talked before about how your daughter, Margaret Qualley, whom you star in the series with, recommended you for this role. What did you think about this character when you first learned about it and when you read the script?
Oh, I was thrilled that she thought of me. It's truly an honor to have your child want you to work with them. And the writing, I just loved what Molly Smith-Metzler did, and John Wells has such a powerful reputation. So the idea of being a participant in this was a dream come true. And then reading Paula, for me, I knew it was a gift that was being given to me on every level. Just so many things about her that I enjoyed creating. The complexity of who this person is, because she can be very joyful in the life of the party. She can be cruel and mean and horrible, and she's overly flirtatious. She's loud. She's talks when she's having a manic episode. She talks in a way that's irritating and just way too big. And the complexity of who this person was and trying to figure out why she behaves the way she behaves was fascinating as an actor.
And you've also been open about how you could relate to this, having had mental illness in your family. What besides having those experiences, like what kind of research and preparation went into kind of capturing this character in as authentic a way as possible?
Yes, well, oddly, I have been doing research on what it means to be a manic depressive or bipolar for at least 20 years, because I came from such a difficult background, and I lost my mother when she was 23, and I really wanted to understand who she was, why the things that happened to me as a very young child all the way up, why she behaved the way she behaved. So I've done a lot of research because I also needed to understand how it affected me. It was very important to me. So I've been doing research, and I have had other people that I know that suffer with bipolar. I've had a lot of experiences with those people when they are in manic episodes. So I had the research came to me throughout my life.
And also playing this character, who has such extreme highs and lows, what's the kind of emotional preparation for kind of embodying that?
Oh, well, I had a lot of downtime during COVID, and it was the only thing that, I just worked on the character. That's everything I did was rehearse the character and find who she was. And they had a really good wardrobe woman who was an inspiration for me and really helped me find Paula. I picked out the boots, and a lot of that really did help, for actors. It really does help, those details. It helps you find who the character is. And then I started on my own thinking how this person moved and what was the cadence and how did she speak? And when she was manic, how did she speak? And then the idea of like this little laugh that she did too quite often at the end of when she would speak. It was something that actually I do sometimes when I'm by myself. And I thought that is so weird when I do that. So I just used it. So it was a combination of so many different things. The flirtation, finding the flirtation was a lot of fun. And it's an interesting thing because it's not the classic idea of an older woman flirting with younger men. That's not it. It's a part of the disease. If you study bipolar disease, quite often one of the symptoms of it is that you are overly sexual. You don't have discretion. or make good common sense with, that's one of the, my cat, I'm sorry. I guess you could call it, it's one of the symptoms of the disease.
And when we first meet Paula, the first kind of our first impression of her is as of the over, larger than life, eccentric woman. And then as the story develops, we really get a sense of, in addition to her condition, there's a lot of underlying trauma there, men who have used her or abused her, talk about, how you felt about getting into those deeper parts of her the more we get to know her.
Those were more interesting. I think the further it goes on, every episode gave me more opportunities for you to really see who this person was, that there was a lot of pain in her. Like in episode 8, particularly, I really loved that, exploring that part of who Paula was, because she no longer could pretend. I think there's a lot of pretending to Paula. I think she covers up her pain with her personality. She doesn't want really just anyone to see that she's dark and suffering. So she's covers it up with all this personality and all this outward movement and everything that she does. But underneath it, there's really a lot of very deep, dark pain. And you don't see that pain until 7 and 8, really 8. And those were the more interesting moments for me. I prefer doing acting where you are quiet. So this was an undertaking for me to always have to be speaking. And it was physical too. Because I don't really move like that, and I'm not that big. And it took a lot of energy because, when you're making a TV show, you don't just do it once, you do it all day long from different angles. And so it took a lot of energy, but at the same time, it was a deep joy for me to have an opportunity to play something that was challenging me.
And in those episodes you mentioned, 7 and 8, where she's kind of coming to terms with people who have used her and with her own mental health, those feel like such intense, emotional, dark moments for her. Was the preparation for those episodes in particular especially kind of daunting, or something you were looking forward to, especially just kind of sink your teeth in as an actor?
I think I really looked forward to 8. 7, I think having to do the scene where I'm breaking into my house, that was late at night. I don't know, 2 a.m. It was freezing cold. They had to run this line of blood through me that was like ice. And it's really hard to explore those kinds of overly emotional scenes. You want to be sure that you make them real, but at the same time, it is what it is. You're cut and you are completely out of your mind. So there has to be this emotion attached to it. It can't be flat. It has to be this experience. And I really worked with Helen on that, our director, just to be sure that it stayed real and honest. And then in 8, I was much more in the element of my sweet spot, because I got to be quiet finally. There's a scene that I do with my daughter where I don't speak. And I really love that scene. I'm not saying anything, but it's for the first time, I think you see the depth of Paula's pain. You see in her quietness what's underneath everything that she does to distract you, because she's constantly distracting people from her pain.
And that relationship between Paula and Alex, there's so many complexities, so much love and affection, but also so much conflict. Like, is it challenging to play those scenes with your own daughter, where Paula is really lashing out at her and kind of pressing those buttons that are really painful?
You would think, but you would think, but I think both me and my daughter are very creative beings. That's what our spirit is. And we just didn't we didn't worry about that. That was never a concern. It was always whether she felt what I was giving her was authentic and real, and whether I felt what she was giving me was authentic and real. And if I could hurt her, that would be great. You know, and the same for me. So we were just looking for the truth and honesty, and not concerned about anything other than that, and really enjoying working together on something that was so full and interesting.
The themes of the series overall, so much of it is about how, especially for women in poverty and in abusive situations, the institutions of support that are set up or often make it more difficult, or like the hoops to jump through. So we see kind of this contrast between what Alex is going through and see the kind of hurdles that, Paula probably had to go through, it perhaps even worse, like in that previous generation. What did you think about exploring that in the series?
Well, what I think has been really beautiful about being a part of this is the response to it. I've had so many emails from different friends of mine from the past. So many people have reached out to me to say that they're making donations to shelters for domestic abuse. And I've heard, through different people that it's just started getting more money after Maid, because people had this visceral, emotional reaction after watching it and understanding what the position is for people in those situations. So I think that's been very, really one of the highlights of this experience, is to have that be the repercussions of making art. And even I learned something from it. It's, I feel like I've been around the block, but just in watching it, I could contemplate situations and how I was raised to be less than and behave as a woman in the South. And I think that was one thing I thought was really important, just the subtleties of being told what to do, to sit down and eat. In that particular scene, where Alex is back in the trailer with her partner and her father, and they have no they're just horrible to her, telling her to sit down and eat and have they don't realize what they're doing to her. And I thought that was a really good scene for women to see and recognize, just how horrible that is. You don't have to hit someone to abuse them. I guess that's my point, and it's very relevant in this whole story, because, she says that right off in the beginning. What am I going to say, that he didn't hit me? And that's so powerful. And you just keep seeing it. What is it? What does abuse mean? I think that's a really important story that came through with Maid.
Now, one of the things that's really powerful and kind of scary about the Paula character is that you never kind of are sure if she's going to get a happy ending or a tragic ending, because basically every moment she seems to be kind of teetering right in between both. And I just felt myself going through the episodes of this thinking, okay, things are moving forward. It's like, oh no, things are, backsliding. So much of that is, whether Alex should continue to care for her or when to let her go.
Right.
What did you think about, where this story, like sort of a moment of hope or sort of a moment of do you feel like hopeful for this character? It's based on a memoir, but
yes,
as a distinct character, like, what do you think about it?
Yes, I had to tell a lot of friends that don't like to watch difficult shows that to hang in there, that they're going to feel good at the end. My sister in particular, who just doesn't watch anything that's at all towards darkness. She just likes everything to be warm and fuzzy. And she watched it. And I think that having her response meant a lot to me, because it's not the kind of material she really loves. But in the end, she felt fabulous. And the hope that she had for Alex and Maddie was great. That resolved all her pain. So I do feel you were left with all those good feelings. And she doesn't need to be responsible for Paula. And there are some really beautiful, beautiful scenes where you feel like Paula may be well enough to go with her. You see them at the beach. She's in a really healthy state at that moment. But the truth is, she needs to live her life and take care of her child. And I don't even know if Paula really wanted to go in the end. I like to think that Paula chose to stay with the man to release Alex because she knew that she was not going to be anything but a burden. And she really loved her daughter that much. That's the way I like to think about it.
And you know that you mentioned that scene on the beach, which I think is Paula at her clearest and most kind of centered. What was it like getting to explore her in that scene and getting to kind of get really to the heart of her there?
Oh, I just think the connection and the bond is really beautiful between this mother and this daughter. And that scene is where you see the most, where she is obviously chemically the most sound. Everything is comfortable for Paula at that moment and working for Paula. So she feels like you may have be able to be a different person, but the reality is she's not on medication and I just don't know that Paula's ever going to be that person. I like to fantasize that she gets it together. I like to think that she misses Alex and she misses Maddie and that she will get it together and she will go to Missoula. I like to think that, of course, but that wasn't ultimately what you needed to be fed. You needed to be fed that Alex gets out and she makes a different life than the history of her family because she came from a very dark place and she deserves a better life.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your work in the series, and the series as a whole is really powerful and impactful. And thank you so much for talking to me about it. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.